Welcome to the podcast. My name's Dave Darmstandler. I am the co-CEO and co-founder of DataPath. And Matt, if you could start by introducing us, then we'll with Dr. Poole.
All right, great. Thank you, Dave. My name is Matt Kinnaman. I'm the founder and president of New Era Superintendents, and we gather superintendents from around the nation together into a community to focus on how we can give students everywhere the best opportunities to achieve proficiency in math and reading. And really happy for Dr. Poole to be with us today.
Awesome. And Dr. Poole, I don't know if you mind just introducing yourself real quickly.
Yes, I am Brenda Poole, the superintendent of the Brinkley School District.
Well, thank you guys for getting together today. I'm looking forward to this conversation, particularly around achievement. And Dr. Poole, thanks for joining us. And so, kind of to kick us off, it sounds like you have a school district there in Arkansas, about 1,000 students, and you've been the superintendent. It sounds like you've been there since 2018. Is that correct?
Since 2016, and we're right around 400 and something students.
Nice. Well, I was just, to kick it off, I don't know if you mind sharing with us. I know you've got a tremendous philosophy around achievement, which we all know is, a huge challenge here in the United States within education. You use a word pretty regularly, relentless. I don't know if you mind maybe expanding on, what that means, within, achievement, maybe even outside of that.
Well, our mission here in the Brinkley School District is to pave the way for every student's success, everyone, every day. We serve students that are 78% in poverty. That's my demographics. But I have 100% of my students who are capable. So I believe that we have to do everything every day, everyone show up doing the job, whether it's the custodian, the bus driver, the cafeteria worker, the teacher, the administrators. We have to do everything we can to make sure all our students are achieving. So for me, it's like we don't give up. We just keep doing it. And the students and the parents and the community, everyone plays a part in that. And like I say, we have high poverty students, but they're all capable. And that is the part that keeps us going and growing.
Yeah, that's inspiring. Well, thank you. I mean, first of all, just start by saying thank you for doing the work you do. I was one of those impoverished students, so a lot of my educators are the reason I am where I am today. So that's awesome that you're pushing that. Do you, when you're talking about that word relentless and just, I've actually never heard that you're, talking about, every single staff member. I mean, is that something you're, essentially talking to on a regular basis, all the way from the janitor to, the bus driver? Is that, they know at the core that's, what you're driving as a leader within your district?
Yes, we start that out every year during PD Week. We talk about the systems approach and how everyone is a part of the system. And when, for instance, if my technology person is not up to par and not doing their job, then it makes it hard for my students and my teachers to use the technology and be a part of the 21st century learning that we envision for them. And if the buildings are not clean, then kids are more likely to get sick. And so each year talking about how everybody plays a part. And if you don't do your part, the system is broken. So I think we continue to revisit that all year long. And I think they understand my stance on that.
Wow, that's fine. I didn't even think about some of that stuff, right? Just around all the way down to, if a building's not clean, a kid could be sick, misses class, and they miss class, they get behind.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Matt, I know go ahead.
I said, if they're hungry, they're not getting fed. And so that means that if my food is not nutritious, they don't want to eat, they're not going to learn. And so we can't teach students who basic needs are not met. So that's my thing. Everybody plays a part.
Yeah, man, I know you had some questions too, Matt. Go ahead and fire away. And we'll obviously be editing this out. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. One thing we find a common thread about in discussions about education in the U.S. is we hear a lot about what's going wrong. And we hear a lot about the divisions that exist in our education communities and practices even. But one of the things we don't hear a lot about is something that's happening all the time. And that is these success stories that are happening under the radar. and in literacy, in reading, and in math, there are success stories happening. There are practices and innovations that are taking place in districts all over the place, but it's hard to hear about them because we hear so much about what's going wrong. And I'm wondering if there's a success story in math achievement or reading achievement that has happened in your district that you've been a part of, that one of your teachers or principals or schools or you yourself have spearheaded, and what was it and how did it happen?
Right. Actually, for our math department at the elementary school, we have been recognized each year for high growth by the Office of Education Policy. And so we are doing good things in our math department. It didn't happen overnight. I tell people it's a little different than literacy because you have just the four basic functions and then you put words with it and then you kind of tie in a few equations and synthesize the information and have kids to solve problems. So once we figured out that if we can shore up the teachers' content knowledge, make sure that they have a solid scope and sequence that they can follow and are pacing and doing 10-day testing cycles and things like that, we figured that process out. And we figured that process out where we also have tier 1 instruction that's top notch, and then tier 2 interventions for those students who are quite not getting it. And then we apply that process every year over and over. And it's like squeezing the toothpaste from the bottom. Eventually, you're going to get kids that are really good in math if we keep going. And so that's one of the achievements that we've had in math. And with my literacy, we've changed assessments this year. But one thing I'm hoping to see is that the work that we have been doing in our K-2 department, we have growth every year in literacy. Now, we are seeing a breakdown with second grade, and we're trying to figure out what's going on there because it normally happens between second and third, not first and second. And so once we figure that out, we are sure that we're going to start seeing that growth we need to see in literacy as well. We have a big initiative around literacy. We are affiliates of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. I'm not sure if you all know about that, but our district is an affiliate of that. And so we push reading in the early grades, even before school, they start school age, and making sure that those students are getting books every month in the home. And so even part of our process for our K-12 students, we send in home books in the summertime with the students, trying to help build up home libraries. We're making sure the classroom libraries in the classroom is fully stocked, whether that's through local money, grant money. We're trying to make it happen. And we've been having some awesome parent nights where we're trying to teach the parents about the standards and about how to help their children with literacy and with the reading. Because let's face it, not everybody has time to learn those skills, and education has changed so much from even when we were in school. So I can't say that every parent is going to know how to teach their kids how to read. So we try to do those things intentionally to make sure that we are covering all the stakeholders and making sure we're placing books in the hands of children and that they're reading every single day.
That's awesome. So, Dr. Poole, I mean, not to go off subject here, but I mean, as far as, you have obviously, I love your format, your style of leadership, and you're pushing it. Do you see also like a need to connect the student to kind of why they need to learn these things? Is there anything you're doing there that you found that's been effective as far as inspiring the students to say, hey, this is why you learn math. These are the types of things you can do if you get really good at math, as an example.
Right. We have career fairs every year at the elementary level and the high school level to show those students, if you learn to read, if you do math, if you can write, these careers are possible for you. So we do. And we also have the why behind it. We started the students with journaling this year. And to start them to think about what do they want to become when they grow up. We know that this will change. We know that. But we started in kindergarten, and those portfolios will follow the kid each year. So they will revisit it at the end of the year. Something may have changed based on talking to some people at the career fair or something like that. And so they can go back and write in there at the end of the year and say, I think I want to be this. So we want them to aspire to be something. So we know at the school level, we have to kind of put that thought and plant that seed. It will change. But we want to be able to have them something when they graduate to say, this is what you aspire to be. Look at their transformation over the years. And
Hmm.
so, and hopefully they know that your education is connected to this. And so we have the teachers to talk to them about those things. And so that's really important for me, because sometimes when you have kids in poverty communities, they can't see past poverty. They can't see past what's going on in their community. So it's important for us to expose them to many different things. And we try to push kids going on field trips. We tie all of that stuff in, and to be able to show them the possibilities outside of the normal. You know, you can do great things and graduate from Brinkley High School.
That's awesome. That's great. Matt, fire away. You got another one?
I'm wondering about what keeps you energized as a superintendent. What drives you to lead with the obvious heart that you have? Because it's also, speaking of obvious, obviously one of the toughest jobs in the country right
It
now.
is tough.
Without even going through everything that's happened in the past 4 or 5 years, it all adds up to it's a job that is suffering lots of attrition, and people are
Hmm.
finding it difficult. Well, but you have a clear, like, energized heart and mind for what you do. What keeps you that way? What drives you every day to come in and deliver to the kids?
One thing I tell people is you have to love what you do. This is not a cliche for me. I actually love being in education. The job is tough. And some days I feel like giving up. And I say, well, it's okay to give out today. Just don't give up. So you have to do that self-talk and motivation to yourself to keep doing the work, even when the work gets hard. But really, the schools are my happy place. And I tell them, I go visit the schools. If I go down the hallway, if I'm walking during lunchtime and the kids see me, they know my name. And that's important for me, is that I'm visible in the schools, I'm present, and they know that I come in, I celebrate their successes. If they're reading, I have like lunch with the superintendent with students who are meeting their AR reading goals and things like that. So those kids will meet me at the ball game or see me out walking, and they say, hey, I met my AR goal. I said, well, did your entire class meet your AR goal? And they kind of think, well, I don't know, but I'll find out. And so the students are really what keep me going, because like you, David, I was one of those poverty kids too. So it's easy for us, I think, to leave these schools and find somewhere where there's more affluent children. I think it's easy for all of us to be able to do that. But the hard work, the most meaningful work, when you're seeing those students and you see that light bulb come on and they say, I got it, I can do this, I can be this here. That's the most rewarding work to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, you really, when you're in those positions, you're thinking in the short term, right? I remember being a poor kid, and you're thinking about next meal.
Yes.
Is the light going to be turned off? Power going to be turned off? Those kinds of things. And so, to get them thinking larger and outside of their issues and problems is difficult, right? It's really hard. Not to mention, like, are they coming to take a test in the morning and they haven't eaten breakfast, or they didn't eat dinner the before, the night before? I mean, those are the things that those are little things that I think impact, the larger picture. And so, and we've had, programs where, I've talked to Matt about this, where, we're working with students from really, really poor areas, even, poorer than where I came from. And, they take them to see offices, and they've never seen an escalator before. They don't even know how to use one.
Yes.
Those are kind of, it's a perspective turn, and, and to realize there's a larger world out there. There's a world that you can make an impact in. There is no limit, which is, one of the beauties still of, where we live here in the United States. I mean, you really can achieve anything that you put your mind to. So I love seeing passionate leaders, in your position, and really inspiring, not only the students, but also just all of your staff as to, like, why they're doing what they're doing, right? Don't come here and just punch the clock. We really need you 100% invested. And so I guess, with that, I mean, what are some of the other challenges you're seeing? And I mean, maybe even ones if you want to speak larger, from a national level, but just even as you're trying to really change students' lives in a dramatic way, through really pushing literacy and STEM, and I mean, what is it that you're seeing as far as the invisible fences or the challenges that you're seeing?
I would think nationwide teacher turnover and teacher shortage is a big problem, and especially for small school districts who serve students who are in high poverty, who need the most effective teachers in front of them. In the state of Arkansas, we have what we call Act 1240 waivers, which allows us to hire someone with a degree. Now, they have to have at least 18 hours in that particular subject wherever we place them. But the fact is, they don't have the education background. And we all know that teaching is a science. Anybody can't just stand up there and do it. So, how do we accelerate the learning for those teachers in a way that we make sure that we're not compromising tier one effective instruction every single day? And so, we kind of figured that out. With teacher leaders. We have teacher leaders in our district that we are empowering. We do that with our leadership team as well. They become part of the systems where we're training people, we're coaching teachers, and we're doing that in a way we shifted our mindset and said, okay, teacher turnover is going to be a reality. We're going to face the shortage. How can we accelerate this? Because we can't keep starting from ground zero. So we're very intentional with our professional development plan for those teachers. And if we can get them early, we start them early. And so we do a leadership retreat for our staff. Everybody's a leader. And we focus on things we've noticed throughout the year. Maybe it's the standards, maybe it's the content, but whatever it is, we're going to give you what you need. And we try to diversify that based on what they need. And we do the PLC process, but we do it in a different way. We believe that there's always, if we see in the data there's a student need, then there's also a teacher need. If the data keeps showing me something and it keeps reappearing, then that's a teacher need. So we have a process where we're developing teachers. There may be another teacher modeling for that teacher, and then that teacher go try it out. And then we check the results and assess and evaluate, was it effective? Did it work for you? And we have like a trial and error system where we keep going with that. So teacher shortage will be a problem, but we're figuring out how to not let it be a problem for us.
Yeah, I mean, and even beyond teacher shortage, right? Then you have teacher mentorship, right, and coaching.
Do.
Yeah. So how do you manage that, right? That seems like, I mean, we love to say all teachers come in and they're perfect, but how do you manage that portion of it?
We assign our veteran teachers that are effective to those new and novice teachers. So we have a process where we're doing that. And I'm not above going in the classroom and modeling if it needs to be, and my principals too, because everybody knows in this district, we don't work in an office. We don't work in a classroom. We work in a district. So wherever there's a need, whether it's in a cafeteria, because I've done custodial work, I've done some of everything in the district, including modeling in the classroom. So it's good for the teachers to be able to see the superintendent and the principal go in the classroom and model as well.
That's awesome.
We have time for another question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. So let's just say, Dr. Poole, you were in an arena with all 15,000 of your fellow superintendents, and you had the stage. What would your message or your thought for your fellow superintendents be as a national community? What would you want to have? What would you want to say to them?
Oh, that is one of the hardest things. But I mean, for me, literacy is a big piece for me. That's what I love. That was my background. Literacy is a big piece. And I think nationally we are suffering there. But I think we kind of figuring that out in Arkansas with the science of reading. That process of teaching reading to students, if we do it and do it well, it works. And so I would say to everyone who's not on board with that process to get on board with that process, because literacy impacts every subject area. And everybody, I don't care if you're a math teacher, you are a literacy teacher. And so I think the push is for us to make sure that everyone knows that you teach literacy. And if you teach literacy, these are the pieces that you need to know. This is the part that you're responsible for. And I figure, the whole student apathy, I don't know if it's because changing curriculums, changing teachers all the time, or what around reading. I'm noticing that students just don't like to read as much. So I would like us to drop the tech sometime, even though tech is important, but we need to read more. Nationally, we need to read more, not only for just to pass subjects, but also to be literate people. I tell people all the time, society has become so literate. It's easy for people to see a post on Facebook and believe it, and don't really go and research it yourself or read that out. And I've had to call some people out on that before. Some of my staff, be careful what you post, because did you know the research says that most people are working 2.5 jobs and not lazy people. So most people are working, and so we have become a really illiterate society. And I want the students to be equipped with the tools, and all of us to understand as educators, we equip students with the tools to be literate readers.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I'm wondering, when we talk about tech and how it takes too big of a place in our lives, and it becomes a big distraction for all of us, and certainly our students, do you make any effort? And I'm so curious about this because I don't know what the answer is across districts, to have your kids have physical books in their
We
hands
do.
versus a tablet
We
or a
do.
phone.
Great.
We do. All of our classroom libraries, we fill and stock books with classroom libraries all the time. We send physical books home with the students as well. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I'm big on that, because I feel like kids need to write, they need to annotate. I mean, when you're reading, you're following a journey, you're going on a journey, you're learning information. That's a personal thing that you're doing when you're reading. All of my books are marked up. And I've been
Yeah.
kids, if it's your book, mark it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thing. I mean, I've even asked my own kids, like, do you even know how to pick up a book and open it? Like an actual book with paper pages?
Yeah.
Because we grew up with that. And so I'm glad to hear this, because I it seems very simple, but it has a basic power to it.
Right. And what they call reading, I'm going on here, I'm checking on Snapchat, I see a post here. That's not reading. That's not the type of reading that we need kids to do. They need to be able to read nonfiction text. And you can read that digitally. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for all that, because I have a Kindle too. I read online too. But most of the time, our students are not using Kindle. They're not using those digital devices to actually read. And it is weakening our kids' literacy skills.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. I'm a huge proponent of physical books. I honestly, even though I'm in technology, I can't stand digital books, to be completely honest. It just doesn't. Yeah, and you get distracted, right? I mean, that's the other thing. You have a device and you're shifting around. You're not really focused on, immersing yourself in what's, coming from the writer. So that's great. Dr. Poole, this has been great. I don't know. I thank you enough for coming on and sharing. Your story is very inspiring, and I love the way you lead. Matt, in closing, I don't know, Dr. Poole, do you have anything else you'd like to share, or Matt?
No, thank you for having me on
Yeah,
and give me an opportunity to spotlight some things in my district. We're sometimes overshadowed by the larger districts, and we don't get to share our stories. So this was a blessing to be able to do this.
awesome.
Good. And we'd love to have some of the perspective of smaller districts highlighted at our summit, October 30th, November 1st. So please mark that on your calendar. I think you already have, but would love to have you be part of a session
Okay.
talking about these same themes.
Okay.
And most of our districts are small and or rural districts. Out of the 15,000, more than 10,000 are small districts
Okay.
below 5,000 students. So, okay, that's great. Thank you. It's been
Well,
awesome.
thank you guys so much. Matt, Dr. Poole, it's great getting to connect, and hopefully we get to do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
All right. Thank you.